Hello again from the Cannon Academy Homeschool. Today I want to talk about socialization because a lot of people think that just because a child is homeschooled that they have no socialization. I have to disagree because I feel like a lot of times a public school student has that same issue. Think about it. When you were in school, were you allowed to talk freely in class, or did you have to sit quietly and raise your hand to be heard? How many of you out there had notes sent home to your parents because you were talking too much in class, trying to be too social? How many of you went out on the playground and maybe it lasted 15 or 20 minutes if you were lucky, and you got to have a few conversations with friends, and then it was cut short? Or maybe you were told, don't just stand around talking to your friends, go play. So, the thing about socialization, to me, it stands for the ability to be able to communicate with different people of different ages, races, beliefs in your community. Now, my two boys went to public school because when they were in school, homeschooling had not become legal. There were a few homeschoolers, but I hadn't heard a lot about it. It actually became legal here in my state when my boys were teenagers and nearly done with school. My daughter, however, was able to be homeschooled for most of her school life. She did try a charter school for a while in third grade for a couple months, and then she went to a homeschool charter school until it closed its door a year and a half after she had entered their school. I've also homeschooled my two oldest granddaughters for a while, and a niece, and a cousin. Then later on, I homeschooled a great niece and nephew, actually two great nephews, for a short bit. And now I am homeschooling my oldest great grandson and my two youngest grandchildren, a girl and a boy. So, are they social? Even though my boys went to public school, they were not allowed to talk in class unless they raised their hand and the teacher called on them. Like I said, it was cut short as far as conversations on the playground during recess, which was about a 15 or 20 minute time frame. During that time, they were expected to play kickball, tag, square ball, different things like that. They were not allowed to just stand still and talk. So, while playing with other kids is a source or a sort of socialization, it's still not having a conversation and things like that. You are interacting, but not necessarily as a conversation. So 15 to 20 minutes in what? A 6 to 8 hour school day. They were also brought up to be able to talk to adults, especially relatives or friends of mine and their dads, and hold just a normal conversation and ask questions and listen to the answers and things like that. Therefore, they could converse with anyone and socially interact with them. My daughter was raised the same way, as were my cousin and my two oldest granddaughters. The two oldest granddaughters and the cousin did eventually go to public school due to work schedules with their parents. Now, that being said, they all had different ranges of socialization. Even my daughter. While there were clubs and things at the school for my oldest granddaughters, my daughter was able to do campfire. We went to the school where my oldest granddaughters attended, and we did campfire, and they joined that. My daughter belonged to different book clubs at the libraries and was able to talk with other children and the children's librarian about the books they were reading and things like that. She volunteered to read books to children during the summer reading club and was a junior giant. She joined youth group at church. She was in dance classes and was in the company group, and she assisted with tours through the studio where she led adults through and told them all about the classes and the schedules and the cost of things. And she was doing this by probably age 11. She tried 4-H. I mean, that's out there. There are sports out there, things like that. All different ways to socially interact with other people, whether they're public school or homeschool. Now, can a homeschooler join a sports team through a school? That is up to each school. Some schools say yes, some schools are no, and then you have to find a homeschool sports team. Your child can take music lessons. They can go to the parks departments in your area, and there are different classes and sports and things like that that they can participate in where they're surrounded by children from all over. Some people like to send their kids to camp. There's another way to socialize and stuff. So I have to say that when people say, oh, your child's homeschooled, you're going to lock them away and they're not going to be able to socialize, that is a bunch of bunk. So you can just totally dismiss that as a reason to not homeschool. Homeschoolers, for the most part, are not locked away in a house. Yes, we do stay in the house and sometimes sit in our pajamas and things like that while we school. Other times, everybody's up and about and dressed, and we're on the run on a field trip, things like that. These days, I don't do the field trip so much because you have to have a car seat for every child. I have 2 in my car and cannot fit a 3rd one in. But we do take walks and things like that, and the kids enjoy when neighbors are out in the area and wave to them, things like that, saying hello. Now, do I let them have conversations? No, because they're strangers. But if I were to have a friend or a relative come by to visit, the children are quite welcome to talk with them and things like that, as long as they also let us have our conversation. So, even if your child is in public school, and say your school has cut costs and no longer has a sports team, or cheerleading team, or theater, or music, or things like that. Maybe they don't even have a gym class anymore. There are still ways to socialize your child and everything. Make sure that they learn how to get along with people. Going to the grocery store, going shopping, going to a movie theater, seeing how things are done. That's all part of being social and learning how to get along in your community and function. And homeschoolers, I have ran into a couple of awkward homeschoolers, but for the most part, they're all just normal, everyday kids. And other than that, sometimes they might talk to a little more advanced with the words they use and things like that. It's not really a way to know that they're homeschooled. Another way you might know is that you're out and about during the daytime and they're at the park. well, being at the park, that's quite okay. Um, they're being active. They're on the swing set and the slides, and they're running around, and they're doing the little fitness things and stuff. That's a gem. Maybe they're at the park and they're looking at the flowers, the different animals there, listening to what they hear, looking at the different types of trees and things. Science. So before you judge that they're not in a classroom or they're not at home studying and things like that, stop and think about that too. Homeschooling takes place everywhere, just like socialization does, whether your child is a homeschooled child or a public or private school child. So I will leave you with that for the moment, and I hope that anyone out there who was questioning whether or not homeschool was alright because their child might not be able to socialize, that has put your mind at ease. So until next time, from the Canon Academy Homeschool, goodbye, and hope you have a great day. Thank you.